Welcome to Frank Talk About Sensors. I'm Randy Frank, and today the topic is printed, flexible, stretchable sensors. My guest is Roger Grace, president of Roger Grace Associates. Roger, welcome back to Frank Talk About Sensors.
Nice to be back, Randy. Always a pleasure to work with you.
Excellent. Roger, what's happening in the world of printable, flexible, stretchable sensors?
Well, you know, Randy, this is a topic that has been around, believe it or not, since 1983 in the mid-'80s, and several companies have worked on this technology, and it's only until recently that this technology has been getting a lot of play and a lot of interest. And I think when you look at my first slide here about why these printed, flexible, stretchable, and I'm also going at a new topic, weavable, which is the newest, hottest thing in town, weavable or functional fabrics. Why are people paying so much attention to it? And I tried to summarize this, and I think what it really comes down to are two basic categories. One of them is going to be cost, and the other one is functionality. And the real issue on cost is basically silicon, and hopefully we won't insult anybody in the silicon business, is a lot more expensive. We'll talk a little bit about that later, than these polymer materials that are screen printed and very, very inexpensive. So not only is the per unit cost of the silicon versus polymer material an advantage on the side of the polymer, but the capital equipment costs that are necessary to make this stuff are orders of magnitude more expensive for silicon. And I'm sure people who follow silicon foundries and Intel and companies that make silicon machines hear how much it costs to put in a silicon foundry. So these are the two basic reasons why these sensors are becoming more popular. The other thing is IoT and wearables. I think we're finally seeing some big opportunities, and we'll talk about some of these major opportunities, where cost is going to be important, and also functionality. And the mere fact that you can bend these sensors and make them in contact with your skin and not have them be irritating to your skin when they're in contact to your skin makes these printed, or should say flexible, stretchable sensors really functionally compatible with applications. So if you look at the real commercialization driving functions here, there are lots of them that I've just mentioned, and some of them, some additional ones, is that you can get large area coverages. I've seen one of the companies that I'm familiar with in France is putting out these sensors in sheets about 1 meter by 1 meter. So you can put a lot of sensors on a 1 meter by 1 meter sheet. And if you need to do arrays to do whatever kind of sensing you need, well, it helps if you want to do, take a pattern of a hand, the whole hand, and there are applications for that. Trying to do that with silicon would be immensely expensive, so these polymer-based sensing technologies really lend themselves because of the cost, and also because of their conformity to complex surfaces. What are the reasons why people are going to be adopting this? And I think it's because of the new high-volume applications that are coming to place right now. And what we need to understand is there are a lot of applications right now. Thin Film company in Silicon Valley is using these printed, flexible, stretchable sensors in package tracking. I think that disposables will be a major application where you would like to know whether or not your child or your, say, grandparents need to have the pens or their diapers changed, because you've got a sensor in there that's telling you that moisture's happened and it's time to do that. Lots of personal health and fitness monitoring, and food, beverage, and drug status monitoring to determine whether or not you're eating food and drinking water that's tainted. These are all applications for these kinds of technologies in this technology, this printed flexible sensor area. out as a result of my attending the MEMS Executive Congress in Napa Valley last year, and it was presented by Alyssa Fitzgerald, and this work was done by my friend Paul Werbenet, and it basically looks at material costs based on substrates of sapphire, silicon, glass, and plastic, and paper. And it's been validated by several of my colleagues that these numbers are pretty close, that there are 2 orders of magnitude, sometimes 3 orders of magnitude in a raw substrate cost per square millimeter of various materials. So you can see, based on this slide alone, the financial motivation for people to want to move to this kind of technology. Now, this slide here is not to be construed as an eye test, but I put the slide up there to just give you a sense of the fact that there's a lot of companies that are in production. These companies are not just doing research. These people are on the market with products that you can put into your systems if you're a design engineer, and as you can see, a great deal of them are in the Force Touch area, which was where this whole thing started. But so some really interesting companies like ISOG in France that's using this technology to do image sensing, and companies like Electrozyme in San Diego that are doing biochem sensing based on work that was done at UC San Diego. So the name of the game is, as time goes on, more and more people are coming to the table because this technology is exciting. The thing that's really, really exciting is classic sensor companies typically are not part of what's going on here. These companies are basically not the standard sensor companies. And based on the research that I've been conducting, a lot of companies that are in the materials and chemical business want to come into this market opportunity because they see they can leverage their internal competencies in that area. The other area that's very important is the research work that's being done right now. Very, very exciting. We're going to talk a lot about research activities during my session at Sensors Expo. We'll talk a little bit about that later. But looking at the people over in Europe, we can see that LETI, CSEM, IMECult, all those companies will be represented in the conference that I'm doing on the 21st, and they're going to talk about some of the advanced technologies that they're working on. And I've got people coming from Berkeley and Northeastern and Park to talk about the work that's being done in university. So exciting news is coming because the early development work is being funded by different organizations like DARPA and DOD and NSF, and they're finding their way into these research universities. Bottom line is, how do people make money? We're waiting to hear about that. Well, it's pretty much well known in all the conferences that I go to that everyone's in agreement with the fact that it's hard to make money by just making sensors. You need to add value. You need to look for system solutions. You've got to integrate various functionalities, including what Randy's doing a lot of work on, and doing a presentation at Sensors Expo on energy harvesting. You need to have kind of a self-contained IoT node, and this node could be flexible and it could be used on a body. But you need to have flexible components there, and the challenge is going to be which components can be done in a flexible fashion and which ones need to be discrete, and therefore you have a hybridized solution. And I think what we're seeing right now is this whole concept of printed electronics. I expect that the wave of printed electronics, led by the work that's being done at the Flex Tech Alliance in San Jose, will really, really add to the credibility of printed, flexible, stretchable, and weavable sensors. That's pretty much it. We only have a short period of time to talk about this, but if you folks are interested in more, you can contact me or possibly come to Sensors Expo in San Jose. So, Randy, that's it for now. Any questions on your part?
No, that was a very interesting presentation, and I'm showing a slide right here where listeners can go to get more information. And with that, I guess I'll say, Roger, thanks for joining us today.
Hey, one more thing. The conference that we're having at Sensors Expo is a pre-conference. It's going to be on the 21st, Tuesday. And the people at Sensors Expo have been quite generous in permitting me to extend a discount to those. If you go and you want to register for the conference or register for Randy's event or my event, you can use the discount code of R as in Roger, Grace, Grace 100, and save yourself $100.
Hey, how can you beat that?
Hey, who knows? Probably you guys and girls can take Randy and I out for a nice dinner on the $100 you saved.
Works for me. Roger, thanks for joining us today.
Always a pleasure, Randy, and thank you for having me.
That's going to do it for this Frank Talk About Sensors. See you next time.